talking about my MPhil, accent change in foreign environments. And I guess the issue that gave rise to my thesis is that English is becoming the international language, and how well you speak English greatly affects your employability and success. Lots of non-native people are now learning English, but learning the grammar and the vocabulary of a new language is only one very small part of the equation. And Australia has 190,000 migrants per year, so issues arising from differences of accent can really be seen in Australia. So why can accents be an issue? So accents can greatly affect a person's work and personal lives. Studies have shown that people with accents are more negative, unfamiliar accents are more negatively viewed in intelligence, attractiveness, benevolence, trustworthiness. Not that any of that is true. And employers often deem them more suitable for low-status jobs. In the workplace, they're often used as scapegoats, and they're also believed to be uneducated sometimes. And so, because of all of these reasons, people are often desperate to reduce their accent, and there are lots of organisations that are profiting from this without much research backing up their methods. So my interest in the subject came about when I was finishing my undergraduate degree in speech therapy, and I was given a client wanting accent reduction therapy. And I looked up all the textbooks and all the research in the area, and there was basically nothing in this area. All the therapy that was out there was based on children's therapy, and most of the research was actually on the questionable ethics of the topic. And I personally believe that an accent is a very important part of someone's identity, but there are certain circumstances in which an accent really does affect someone's life. And so my client, for example, was a really well-educated man, but he had come to Australia and had been working as a cleaner for 2 years. And then he finally got a job as a manager in an engineering firm. But he was told at work that people couldn't understand him and he wasn't able to communicate over the phone or at meetings. So it can really affect people's lives. So there's definitely a strong need for research in how better to teach pronunciation, how to improve comprehensibility of what people are saying, and then also when is it actually appropriate to assist someone with their comprehensibility. So what am I doing about it? The aim of my study is to look at what factors influence accent change and comprehensibility. So basically, what makes one person stay in a country for 20 years and not change their accent, and what makes one person stay there 2 weeks and have a new accent by the end of it. And before I go much further into it, I'll be talking about accentedness and comprehensibility. So accentedness is a subjective rating of how foreign someone sounds, but comprehensibility is actually how much you perceive you understand what someone is saying. So my thesis in particular is looking at Australians and Chinese people in the UK recently arrived, and I'm measuring their accent from when they first arrived to a period 3 months later, and then I'm also looking at how good they are at perceiving differences in accents, mimicking accents, their attitudes towards accents, and then their actual competence in language learning. This is my experiment center. So this is a soundproof room, and I have my microphone here, and all of the activities are put on this screen here. So my first experiment, I had a single word test where I presented all of my subjects with very carefully selected pictures and words shown in a PowerPoint, and the subject needed to say those words in a carrier phrase. So here is an example.
I'm asking you to say pet, please.
So that was for the word pet. And so they would say, I'm asking you to say Pete, please. I'm asking you to say sat, please. Encouraging slides to keep going. I'm asking you to say tart, please, and so on. They then completed a passage reading, which is the North Wind passage. You may have heard of it. This is a little bit of it.
The north wind and the sun were disputing which was the stronger.
So they were asked to read through this passage twice. The reason why this passage was chosen is because this passage elicits almost all of the sounds that exist in English, and it's also really often used to compare different accents, so it makes my study easy to compare with other studies. Next, I gave them a questionnaire that asked them about demographics, their language background, and then their views on language learning. So I gave them a lot of questions that they could rate on strongly agree to strongly disagree in these areas. So questions might be, I need to learn English to get a good job, and that's an example of motivation. And then I concentrate a lot on my pronunciation here, and that's a measure of self-awareness. Okay, then the next session, which I'm currently doing now, I'm giving them a perception test, and to do this I present them with 2 words in a carrier sentence, and they have to indicate whether these words are the same or different. So this is an example.
I'm asking you to say tack, please. I'm asking you to say talk, please.
So they would be different.
I'm asking you to say pep, please. I'm asking you to say pep, please.
And they would be the same. Okay, then in the next test, a mimicry test, the subject will hear a word, then they'll try and mimic it as best they can, and they're given 3 chances to say it right.
Can't,
So let's say cart,
can't,
cart, and then keep on trying basically until you get it right. So that seems pretty easy, right? Yes? Okay, it's not really that easy, and this is the reason why. So this diagram here represents all of the vowels that are in English. This is how high the tongue is in the mouth, and this is how front and back the vowel is in the mouth. So this diagram really just shows all of these little dots are different vowels, and this diagram just shows how close some vowels are to each other. So these 2 here are U and U, and this is A and O. Okay, so you can see they sound reasonably similar. English people will be able to tell the difference between these, not everyone will be. So this is just an example to show you how vowels are very fluid. I want you to count how many vowel sounds you hear. Any guesses? Yeah, no. So English speakers will probably have heard a whole set of different vowels to Chinese speakers and Australians, basically because we segment them in different ways. So now I want you to tell me if these people are saying the same words or different words.
pet,
Pet.
pet,
Are they the same or different words? Different? Different? Okay. What about this?
pat,
Pat.
pat,
Same. Okay, well, both of those lines, the first line they were all saying the same word, the second line they were all saying the same word. What about this?
Pet. Pat.
Same or different? Different, yeah.
pat, pat,
Same. Seems like it, but. Okay, this is our first speaker. Oh, whoops. Oh no. Okay.
Pat.
Okay, well, that one's refusing to work, but that's okay. So the reason why we can hear these as being different, or the English speaks at least, is because this is the vowel here, this is the vowel here, okay? Now, if we look at this diagram here, this shows us the shape of the mouth when he's producing these sounds. This line here, if we look at, it doesn't show up very well. If we look at the comparison between these 2 diagrams, this line here is substantially lower than the line here. And this line here is substantially higher than this line here. So this basically tells us that the shape he's making in his mouth is different when he's producing these two different sounds. Now if we go on to our next person.
pat, pat,
Yeah, okay. So everyone said they sound basically the same. So this is a vowel here, and this is a vowel here. Now, these lines, if we look, and I can't see it very well again, but this line is basically on the same level as this line. And this line is basically on the same level as that line. That means that these are produced in the same part of the mouth. But if you look at the actual waveform of these sounds, this vowel here is significantly shorter than this here. So if we have another listen,
pat, pat,
can you hear
pat, pat,
that one's a little bit longer? So to this speaker, she's making a significant difference. She's telling you that these are different words just by the duration. So basically the point of this is to show you that people that are familiar with different accents will actually perceive sounds in different ways, and therefore they'll also produce sounds in different ways. So really it's not quite so easy in the end. Okay, my second experiment will recruit native English speakers, and then I'm going to play the recordings from my first test rounds to these speakers, and then I'm going to get the English speakers to rate the comprehensibility and accentedness of those passages. And then I'll give them a questionnaire on their impressions of accents. So we'll have a practice. I don't know how many people are actually native English speakers here, but we'll give it a go. So I want you to tell me how comprehensible this speaker is. Oh, damn it. That. Okay.
The north wind and the sun were disputing which was the stronger.
Was it comprehensible? Everyone understand? Yeah. Okay, and accentedness?
The north wind and the sun were disputing which was the stronger.
Out of 10? Australian. Great. Okay, that's enough. Okay, so comprehensible. Is this one comprehensible?
The north wind and the sun were disputing which was the stronger.
And is it accented?
The north wind and the sun were disputing which was the stronger.
So less accented because it's British? Yeah, that's right. But that's what you should have said. But then I'll ask them a question like, true or false? The Australian accent sounds better than the English accent, which we all know is true. Okay, then what I'll do is compare everyone's ratings of these phrases before and after this 3-month period of accent change. And then that will give me a measure of the change in comprehensibility. So ultimately, I'll have measured their perception skills, their mimicry skills, demographic factors, their language abilities, and then I'll be able to compare all of those factors to how much their accent changed and how much their comprehensibility changed. Where will that lead? So again, this will tell us what's the difference between someone who can acquire an accent really quickly after a week and why some people keep an accent for years. And then hopefully we'll be able to use that information to help people achieve their full potential by using strategies that might help them be more comprehensible. And so it could be used in speech therapy or in language teaching when pronunciation is first being taught. Any questions? Yeah, Jeff?
Are you, what kinds of other information are you gathering with these people? So presumably more than just their initial pronunciation will have an effect on how they later pronounce things.
Yeah, so I've got all of their language backgrounds, so any countries, English-speaking countries they've been to, any countries they've lived in, if they have left the UK since they arrived here, so lots of my Australians went home for Christmas, just anything that may affect their language capability when they learnt the language, things like that. Out of that.
Sorry, in terms of Mandarin speakers, do you ask them if they speak another language besides Mandarin? Because people speak additional Chinese languages?
Yeah, so I've got, for the Mandarin speakers, I asked if they, all of their dialects, all of their languages, and also who their English teacher was, if they were American or Australian or Irish. And yeah, so basically I've tried to make it so anything that may have an effect on their initial accent, I've tried to collect as well.
The choice for Australian and Chinese speakers, how did that come about?
Largely because I needed a group that was going to be easy to recruit, because there are lots of, I know a lot of Australians and there are lots of Chinese speakers here. I did consider Germans, but one of the reasons why we didn't go ahead with that was because German speakers have a lot of contact generally with the UK, and also their pronunciation, as I've met with a lot of German speakers, is quite good when they come here to start their study. Whereas with Mandarin speakers, though their pronunciation is very good, and a lot of them are extremely comprehensible and you can understand everything they say, because it's a different accent, a more different accent, they have much more room to change while they're here. Arthur?
I think I should track negative development actually, because a friend of mine, she's Chinese, and what she says is that there's a difference between Chinese who arrive with the proper English because they just pass IELTS or TOEFL, and then they hang around with Chinese and actually their English decreases, like they lose it.
Yeah.
Where some tend to pick up, and actually there's also
So the way that I'm collecting my results is I'm comparing the vowels, which are the most, I guess, fluid part of speech. So they're the ones that can change the most. So I can actually look at that and then see if they've gone backwards or forwards. And I also have a question in there regarding who they talk to, most of all. So a lot of the Chinese speakers that I recruited were from the Faculty of Asian and Middle Eastern Studies, I think, and some of them actually told me that they don't speak much English.
Yeah.
So that's one of the factors that I'll be looking at. Yeah.
The people who are assessing the accents, and you said they're English, does that mean sort of British English?
Yes, so they'd be from...
Not just English speakers? But
No, not just English speakers. So they'd actually, if all goes well, they will be from the southeast of England. They will have been born and bred in the southeast of England. So very specific.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.